Hey there guys, today I'm going to be working on a project for my wife. It's going to be making a piano style stool for our little computer area. Currently we're just using a stepladder there and we've been using one for way too long. I don't know why it's taking me so long to make her something better. But anyway, it's just going to be that piano style where you spin the top and it goes up and down. I'm going to make it out of a threaded rod and some tube steel and scrap wood. So give me a few minutes and we'll see what we can get turned out. So before I start this project, let me show you my inspiration or the design that I'm essentially going for. This is a stool my wife showed me off of Etsy, and it's an old European factory shop stool. It's obviously not my design. I'm just going to try to recreate it the best I can. So let's get to building. The first thing I wanted to tackle in this was to create a bracket in which the seat would eventually mount to. And to do this, I'm going to use some scrap pieces of steel and a 7/8 inch coupler nut that will eventually be the connection point from the seat to the base. Here I've cut just some simple little triangles that will act as gussets, and then I'm going to tack weld this nut into place. After I get everything tacked into place, it was now time for some nice longer welds. Unfortunately, I ended up getting a couple really nice shots of the back of my head, but after that, you'll see a couple of nice full-length welds. For the base of the stool, I welded a nut inside of a pipe. This pipe is where the legs will eventually attach to, and the nut is where most of the adjustment function of the stool will happen. One thing I did learn, however, is that when welding a nut, it will deform or distort the threads enough where you may not be able to use that nut again. Luckily, my father-in-law was able to bail me out and help me re-thread this nut, but just something to keep in mind in case you might be doing something similar. For the seat portion of the stool, I'm laminating together a bunch of scrap pieces of wood that I keep from old projects. Here I'm clamping it in my workbench, and hopefully in a couple days it's going to make for a nice kind of glue lamb style surface. After the glue dried for a couple of days, I proceeded to smooth it out with a belt sander, which was about an hour-and-a-half project, and reminded me once again that I probably ought to invest in a planer at some point in time. For the curve of the seat, I just used a 5-gallon bucket lid, and then I rough cut the pieces out with a circular saw, and then finished out the curves with a bandsaw. For the lower legs of the stool, I positioned the whole assembly up with some clamps at a pretty much vertical angle, and then I pretty much just eyeballed the legs until I liked the angle that they were sitting, and then just went about tacking them into place. After finishing up my welds on the legs, I then took a sanding disc and cleaned up any imperfections and other mistakes I wanted to cover up. And to figure out my angles for the bottom of the legs, I simply dipped each leg into a bowl of paint and then cut off the painted ends, and it made for a nice flush fit to the surface of the floor. And it was pretty much ready to mount some washers at that point. And here's the finished result. Overall, very happy with the stool. It came out pretty much the way I was hoping. It's definitely a little chunkier than the one that you saw in the picture in the beginning. But you know what? My wife was happy with it. My daughter liked it. So in that case, that just makes me happy. And here's just a bit of the performance testing I put the stool through just to make sure it was ready to go in the house. Hey, what are you watching?
Nothing.
Nothing?
I don't know her name.
Oh, okay. What kind of princess is she?
Woodland.
Is she a fairy?
No, just a princess.
Well, that's pretty much it, guys. As always, thanks for watching. And for those of you who might be local to me in the Arizona area, I was planning on making a second stool almost exactly like this one to sell on Craigslist for a little bit of extra income. But if you might be interested, just shoot me an email and I might save it for you.